Hey, everybody, it's me, just another wise guy, aka Jog. My name is Jake, formerly Ho Chi Minh's lab partner, and today we're back with another video, diving right back into, you guessed it, capitalism classic. What you're watching is, 1990s VHS filter Overwatch subpar gameplay, and I'm gonna rant a bit over the footage. I've been discussing all kinds of issues on my channel now, and I think it's time we talk about capitalism's most prominent motivator. This needs to be addressed because so much of what affects our rising issues comes from the core problems capitalism, the state, and other forces all create. This topic I'll be covering contributes not only to chronic losses, recessions, bailouts, collapses, and the like happening all across the United States, but our society's long-term problems as well. This topic is the profit motive. The profit motive, in basic terms, is just the primary driving force of capitalism, that is, the pursuit of making money. It is all-encompassing, all-powerful. It trumps any other force operating with this economic system and continually proves to do so. It is the near universal method of development for many organizations, institutions, and entities, particularly within the context of America's conditions. Consumer culture, the entertainment industry, nonprofit organizations, and healthcare are all examples of this profit motive reaching most, if not every corner it can. What we see is that every business selling a good and or service, any new entity seeking stability and or growth within a state capitalist system seeks to profit from the said service or good they provide. This is done in order for any entity, group, organization, etc. to stabilize or grow. If a business or company or whatever doesn't reap a profit from their service, that is by their own definition, and even by the ordinary person's definition, a profit loss. And that profit loss is inherently not just a lack of growth, but also a lack of consistent revenue. As I'm sure you've already understand, a business seeking to sustain itself cannot operate under long-term profit loss, even including planned chapters of dips in profit. This relationship causes all economic enterprises to seek making money, and a lot of it, as efficiently as possible. It puts investors, shareholders, and business owners, even the workers themselves, in the position of seeking to make as much money as possible. Behavior like that is bound to promote unhealthy practices that only perpetuate the class friction produced by the absence of a proper socioeconomic system. So now, why wouldn't just a simple, stable, and consistent profit any business achieves from its service be sufficient? Shouldn't a business be fine competing alongside others in the marketplace? And isn't that the general idea of building institutions and entities under capitalism's version of democracy anyways? The reason a simple, consistent profit isn't enough for the majority of business operations is due to the problem of both resource and profit motive meeting at a crossroads of conflict. You see, businesses and companies have an interest in seeking as much money as possible, as I've said many times, and I will say more. This interest can include the usage of many different capitalist strategies, doing almost anything, doing whatever it takes, even hence the return of child labor in the United States these days, which is just not dystopian whatsoever, to achieve said goals. If we take a look at business behavior, we can actually see the loss of quality working conditions, the loss of quality product, the loss of quality in society overall, present in nearly every workplace, every avenue, every corner, because of decisions like these. If we were to ask ourselves what types of hypothetical business decisions that might cause, we can quickly see how the desire to make money sacrifices the need to uphold our societal standards. For example, why would a business increase its employees' wages or salaries unless it proved to profit for the business owners? Why would a business promote top-tier regulations, provide healthy working conditions, unless legally mandated, if it could save them money if they did nothing instead? What incentive is there for any entity to pursue higher standards and more fair conditions if that pursuit proved to be a profit liability for said entity? The profit motive demands the highest expectations out of its competitors within market capitalism, just to compete alongside competitors and even in general in any marketplace. Otherwise, if they don't, these companies will lose out on competition with other business revenue and perhaps the entire market. And this unhealthy, sick, toxic tendency leads me to my next point. The profit motive insists on an infinite growth formula, seeking to produce as much possible, as quickly as possible, as long as possible, to make as much money as possible. Capitalism's compulsion for infinite growth has a sickness, an allergy to finite things. Investors, business owners, and the like, because of capitalism, cannot be only interested in providing a service to a certain fixed group of people and also only have that amount of people in whatever, said marketable group stay the exact same amount. No, all businesses are and must be interested in growth. In all chapters in any business's financial history that profits do not increase from the previous term or terms, these chapters are considered non-growth quarters, even if compared profits amount to a present state of stagnation. Essentially, capitalism promotes economic strategies seeking infinite growth in a finite world, where something like communal, socialist, or communist societies seek a command and coordinated economy, producing products between different working groups, producing that which is only needed in a certain amount ordered or called for the sake of mutual aid network and the stability and growth of everyone's lives. Capitalist societies, on the other hand, have an endless hunger to constantly output its money-making methods onto the market and to keep growing, even spreading profit-making strategies that prove to be successful to other financial entities, even if that strategy becoming widespread has a massively detrimental effect. Where a natural pursuit to grow, unify, stabilize, and better the world would exist with a more socialist society, that natural pursuit is killed in its crib from capitalist hegemonic influence. And while not all businesses function this way universally and entirely, it's important to note that business owners who seek to expand their company in influence must participate in this phenomenon. In other words, a company has to believe it can keep growing and keep growing more after that and on if it wishes to keep growing. And this kind of powerful influence the owners of capital have isn't healthy for us as we try to build a better world. Now, on the surface, it may not seem entirely obvious that all businesses want to expand. There's plenty of businesses out there with, content with their steady traffic, and besides, should employers and managers and business owners not seek to expand their goods and services to provide more for people? Well, if that's what you're asking, not so fast, right? First off, we have to take a step back and realize we're assuming something that we may have overlooked, and that something is the classic old concept of money itself. You see, when a society operates with currency as the third-party intermediary of its interactions with labor, every single thing, every good, every service, every worker, all labor, every idea, almost every single thing becomes attached to money and a dollar value, even if we think it shouldn't. And this has a rippling effect on our every interaction and relationship in our communities. Now, what happens is when money becomes the very core item of value in a society, it makes sense that literally everyone constantly seeks to make as much money as they can. If people can use money to get things and have things get done, then why wouldn't people do everything they can to get as much money as possible? Why? How is that not obvious? And this is our problem. This is the central glaring problem of a profit-based society, especially one with non-standardized currency. So, where a labor union or worker cooperative would operate organically in a mutual aid society thanks to the relationships it has with other co-ops, groups, councils, and unions, having a finite and planned amount of labor to provide a good and or service, all of that would then become entirely changed when money is introduced to the picture. Because, as stated before, in order for these businesses to succeed, they have to seek out markets, which are just demographics of people they're aiming their product at, and solicit their goods and services as much as possible to as many people as possible to make as much money as possible. And notice how I keep saying it like this, and I can't stress it enough that this is the nature of it, how much it pushes things to extremes. Think of a plumber or a doctor. right? You might need someone to repair your in-home piping system or receive a comprehensive physical for a health checkup, and you may even need to see a plumber or doctor multiple times, or even different doctors or plumbers to get a second, third, fourth opinion. But you don't need a doctor endlessly. You don't always need a plumber. The labor of other people will only have value for the utility it has for that laborer and other laborers, and the general populace local and abroad, when it is appropriate and needed. Within a capitalist system, there is a literal financial motivation to endlessly supply a good or service, all for the sake of making money. Not just that, but even the average worker's survival needs and motivations are put in the forefront with all kinds of professions. Yes, doctors, plumbers, marketers, engineers, etc., and so much more, forcing the average laborer to do almost any kind of behavior they must just to get by. Now you might think to yourself, okay, but is it really all that bad that people want to make money to support themselves? What about how doctors and plumbers and all kinds of laborers have to help other people too? While you might arrive at these questions at first glance, I'd like to remind you that people only need money to get the things that society provides. If we lived in a currency-less society where we mutually provided and supported each other, this pursuit of wealth would be insane. It would reveal itself to be an obvious pursuit of excess. In addition, while plumbers and doctors do have labor available to help others, as that would be part of the day-to-day work of the profession, the point still holds, because there are finite people, and those people do not have infinite health problems or infinite plumbing problems. Think of the moments these workers don't end up working, when there isn't labor to be had, okay? In a capitalist society, that lost labor directly translates to a loss of personal wealth. When a plumber loses a customer to another plumber's work, that first plumber will have to cut expenses ranging anywhere from less necessary things, well, arguably less necessary, I wouldn't actually say that they're less necessary, but arguably less necessary things like leisure, recreation, basic life enjoyment, and then of course also maybe even survival needs, depending on the situation, in order to continue getting by in the midst of a capitalist manufactured competition. In a communist society, that worker, when their labor isn't needed, would literally simply not work. Or maybe even better yet, decide to help with some other kind of labor that might need to be, around a commune, for example. Or of course just plainly exist as well, just live life, as is the true meaning of life, to live and enjoy what we are and have. If for some reason my point still isn't landing, think about the places where you constantly have to go back. Grocery stores, for example. Why is food for profit? Should creating and enabling a system that profits off of our basic needs be encouraged? Look at how produce and other food items have been subject to massive inflation, rising costs. Should our basic sustenance be subject to the market-deemed price value? Getting your car fixed or checked at a mechanic. Why are cars the most popular, near universal way of getting around, at least in America, and why are there so little available other choices, especially in the countryside? Why is the traffic system so draining on us personally, subject to constant fixing and expansion, accidents and damages, only to endure the same problems and frankly not travel distances that fast in the first place? Yet another sector of our society privatized is healthcare. Visits are good and upkeep on health is important, but you'll find many Americans, for example, skip out on healthcare checkups because they cannot afford to attend to their basic bodily needs. The staple of a free society? College, an institution that has effectively necessitated itself for workers aspiring to an entry-level technical, academic, or other positions, only for the pay to be still massively unacceptable, is very much a debt-inducing endeavor. As always, I could go on and on and on. When you examine how we live, a clear pattern emerges. The owners of capital design goods and services so that the goods and services necessitate themselves. The product or service's shelf life, and justification for its position in the marketplace become critical to the growth of any profiteering attached to its value. These industries make themselves so ingrained with how we live. We become entirely depending on them, becoming subject to the whims of capitalists and their endless pursuit to grow and make money. When we take a look at the bigger picture, we can all see easily that there is a financial motivation to actively even almost harm anything. If this point didn't inspire enough doubt into capitalism, then let me ask, how can you trust that a mobile touchscreen phone will have a healthy and long battery life under a capitalist system? How can you trust that the food you eat is healthy and good for you under a capitalist system, especially when considering that it's within the capitalist food industries to spend as little money as possible on their goods and services? Why would movies, documentaries, television shows, and other media outlets choose to be as accurate and truthful as possible when flair, flashiness, and extravagance all create more profit? What reprehensible labor conditions abroad are endured for us to have some of what is nothing short of the most trivial things? My point with these questions is to show you how the profit motive ends up sacrificing, how the demand for infinite growth invites businesses to sacrifice even the integrity of or quality of their products in order to continue making money, as if they weren't disregarding the needs of their laborers already. You know, there are other things that grow for growing's sake, things that need to consume energy more and more just for the sake of it to keep growing with no end in sight. You know what those things are? Cancer, parasites, disease, all act the same way capitalists do. Not a good sign when an economic system emulates some of the most lethal forces to humans and other beings have to deal with. The average person will expend so much energy and time of their life to those owners of mass wealth. Those owners of mass wealth will have little to no care for that average person's needs. The question becomes, why do we accept a fundamentally sick relationship with our society? Should we have society owners? Is it actually good that people like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Mark Cuban, and the shareholders, investors, and politicians all acting in the elite's interest have all this money and power? Why should we accept that we cannot control the nature of our labor? Why should we accept that we don't have a say in when we work, where we work, for how much, how we do the work, how we should or shouldn't conduct our day-to-day work, etc., etc.? Why should we accept that so many of us struggle to barely get by? Why do we feel we have to say thank you for breadcrumbs? If any of this is even remotely okay or acceptable in the face of the largest record-breaking owners of wealth building personal phallus-shaped rockets, of course not, no. Suicide, addiction, and eviction rates are rising. People can't afford basic needs like food and shelter. There's a loneliness epidemic. We're all very disconnected, but overly online, and we indulge ourselves with the flashiest, most barren of content and entertainment. Something is clearly wrong. I can't make you change your mind, but this is all something we have to think about, isn't it? And all of this may seem like bad news. All of this may seem like things we have to be concerned about, but because they are. But the important thing to remember is that we can do something about this. We do not have to accept these conditions. It is completely within our power to take control of this situation and do something better with it together, unified, working together, and we're able to make that transition whenever we so please. So when you're ready to join that, when you're ready to join together, when you're ready to spread the word and get others to join together as well, just know that that strength is building day after day, that all of us are waking up more and more, and it cannot be stopped. The war on the Red Scare failed, and the capitalists are scrambling desperately to make the best out of this situation as they have truly made things too far gone. Do not give up, my comrades. The fight has just begun. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this spoke to you. I hope this, reached you in some way. I love for people to share their opinions in the comments. I'd love for people to tell me what you think, like and subscribe as well. Thanks again for watching. I hope everybody's okay. I hope everybody's out there, staying strong, doing your best. And I wish you well. Take care. Sorry about the wait for this video. It's been a while, but I'm glad to be posting again. And so see you in the next one. Thanks again, guys. And see you later. Peace.